Second. I sent an email from my website out today, and it's called This is Ruining Your Relationships. And I want to talk about the content of that. So I'm live on YouTube at Coach Veronica Marie. I'm live here on TikTok as well. So, welcome. And we're going to talk about a big thing that is ruining your relationships. It's probably something you do. I want you to self assess. I don't want you to assess other people. I want you to assess yourself in this. Can we do that? Hey, Nova, how you doing? Can we self assess today and not worry about other people? Meanwhile, let me share my live with people in my community. And we're just going to wait for them to pop on. So nobody really gets in relationships and plans for it to fail, right? You get in a relationship ultimately because you want it to be successful. Like, what are some of the things that you want when you're in a relationship? Ask yourself that. What things do I want? What things do I enjoy? Some things like honesty, closeness, companionship, intimacy, communication. We want all of these things. The problem is a lot of people don't know what those things actually look like, and their concept of what it could look like is based on dysfunction and in dysfunction. Okay. And so, okay, your phone is freezing. All right. Welcome, everyone on YouTube, and welcome on TikTok. So, we're going to ask this question. Am I set up for success in my relationships? Is my relationship healthy? What is this one thing that ruins many connections? And when I talk about many connections, I'm not just talking about romance. I'm talking about family relationships, sibling relationship, friendships. Okay. So I'm just going to be here kind of listening to some music, allowing both lives to populate. How are y'all doing? I want to start off with a how you doing? And then I want to move into the rest of it. Let me get some nice, let's see, instrumental, because I don't want to be kicked out on YouTube. All right. Welcome, y'all. Welcome, welcome. We're looking at healthy relationships. We're looking at one big thing that ruins most relationships, right? If I told you there was one big thing that ruins most relationships, wouldn't you want to know? Wouldn't you want to know that? So I'm setting up the music and I'm waiting for y'all to pop in. You were in a dark space and you prayed and you're here now. Yes, I'm glad you're here. All right. So I'm going to read the email that I sent out because this teaching is based upon, hey, babe, TikTok is saying some comments in this live were filtered to protect the community's experiences. So if you want me to read it, you're going to have to say it a different way. Hello there, Mickey. Hello, Sean. How are you? So we're looking at this email that I sent out, hey T, on my website today. And it's a thing that ruins almost all of your relationships. It causes trauma, it causes conflict, right? And if I told you that there was something that you could do to increase the likelihood of your relational success, wouldn't you want to know that? So I'm going to read the email. And if you're not subscribed to my blog, and if you're not on my mailing list on my website, I highly suggest you do that because I'm sending out good information. It's my commitment this year to increase how I communicate with you. One is my blog, one is through my subscriber list on my website. The other is YouTube. So, hey, YouTube. And my podcast. I recently set up a podcast. Hey, Michelle. I set up my podcast and it is live on Apple Podcasts and also Spotify and YouTube. Okay, so I'm increasing my reach. And that means I need increased engagement. So if you like my reach being increased, then go ahead and engage with it, follow it, do all the things like, subscribe, follow, share, all that. Y'all know how it works, right? So let me get to this email that I sent out because I want to start reading it now. If you're ready, type yes. Hey, YouTube, my audience here on YouTube, we are new. right? So you're really getting to know me and I'm getting to know you. I have more experience on TikTok, but I want to get to know you too. So let me know how you're doing and maybe what city you're in, what sign you're in. Let me pull up the email. All right, so here we are. Okay, y'all ready? Okay. Because why not know the things that you do in order to set yourself up for more success? All right. Did y'all know I have a blog? Are you subscribed to it? Subscribe to the newsletter? Yes, Sean said yes. Hey there, YouTube. How y'all doing? Are we connected on YouTube? If not, let's connect. All right, Tierra is saying yes. We have two Tierras in here. Nova is in New York. Okay. All right, I'm pulling it up. The email. Where's the email? Where's the email? I just had it. Here it is. All right, so we're ready. Go to veronicamarie.com, click in the menus. If it's not already at the top, because you may be viewing it from a phone, then click in the menu and go to Wellness Blog. All right, and it's cold in New York. Okay. All right, so let me read it. I'm ready to start reading the email. And listen, when you subscribe on my website, make sure you add my email to your contact list because my emails are going to be going in your spam folder. My own emails are going into my spam folder. I had to fix that this morning. Okay. Okay. So the title of the email is "This is ruining many of your relationships." Do you do that? Do this? Okay? It's self-reflective time. Do you do this? Okay? Projection. Projection. Understanding projection in relationships. Projection is a psychological defense mechanism where individuals attribute their own thoughts, their own feelings, their own undesirable traits onto others. I'm going to read that again. It's a defense mechanism, okay? It's a learned behavior that is birthed out of trauma projection, the way that I'm talking about it here. And it's where you think other people think like you're thinking about the thing. You think other people see it the way you see it. You think people feel the way that you feel it. And the thing about projection is it's really based in fear. So you fear that other people think this about you. And you fear that they feel this about you. Or you don't like something and you try to add your thought process to their and into their mental framework. Well, I know why they're doing it. They're doing it because of this and that. All of your interpretations when you project, right, are coming from your own mind. And it's not involving the people around you, although you're talking about the people around you, although you're talking to the people around you. It's really you and you and you having a conversation. Hello, Lola. How are you? So let's continue. While it can be an unconscious process aimed at protecting the self, the reason people project is because they're trying to self-protect. They don't want to feel bad. They don't want to feel off. They don't want to feel like the odd one out. They want to feel right. Right? A lot of people who operate in a powerless mindset, we call that a victim mindset, they project as to why someone is doing something, right? And usually the reason why someone is doing something has to do with some way that they're being unfairly treated or unacknowledged or whatever. Can y'all recognize what I'm saying? Does it make sense? It can severely affect your personal relationships if it's left unchecked, okay? So here's how projection can hurt your relationship and what you can do about it, okay? Here's how projection can hurt your relationship and here's what you can do about it, okay? So how projection manifests. Projections manifest and appear in various forms, including accusation. You accuse people. What do you commonly accuse people of? And you might say, You were talking to someone briefly and you projected, yeah, we got to become increasingly aware of this, okay? So how do you accuse people? A lot of people think, I don't accuse anybody of anything. You don't outrightly accuse them. You accuse people in your tone. You accuse people in your questioning. You accuse people in the conclusions that you draw in your head. And a lot of times it's off. Now, I know somebody is listening and they say, well, sometimes it be on. All right. But if you want to save your relationship, you want to come out of projection, whether it's off or on, and come into some more reliable way of being. Okay. Accusation. You accuse people of not caring, Let me tell you what that looks like. Let's go into that. All right. So when you accuse someone of being selfish, you're saying you don't care. When you call someone selfish, when you call them inconsiderate, right? When you go, did you even do this? And you still didn't even do that. You're accusing them of something. Yes, on point, right? Not caring or liking you. You accuse people of that. And usually when you're projecting, it's because a person is not doing something you want them to do. They're not saying something you want them to say. They're not behaving in ways that you deem appropriate. And so you accuse them. You're selfish. You're inconsiderate. You don't care. If you really cared, you would do this. No, you knew I wanted that. You did that on purpose. It was intentional. I think you did that on purpose. You checked yourself today. Very good. Self-awareness is key, right? So projection manifests as accusations. It's real. It is real. How you doing? Okay. Next, jealousy. Okay. When you are moving in jealousy, you want to control what someone is doing with others outside of you, right? And so what you're accusing them of, right? Because jealousy is in itself an accusation. You're accusing them of not being mindful of what you want. You're accusing them of being wrong for what they're choosing. And we're going to talk about how to come out of it. Okay. So jealousy is a type of accusation. So all the people who walk around going, I don't accuse anybody. Jealousy is a type of accusation. It's subtle, but it's a type of accusation. Okay. I'm an emotional wellness coach, right? Okay. Next, criticism. You project when you criticize people for traits or behaviors that you dislike in yourself. Let's talk about that because this one is not so easy to grasp. Okay. So let's say, let me use a personal thing because a lot of people, they view my page, they view my teachings and things like that, and they feel some kind of trigger off feeling because of the way I'm talking or how I express myself in some way or something I freely do or say. And they get in a tizzy, they contract like, how dare she's sitting up there doing this and doing that. But what they either really want to do is be free like that within themselves, and they don't like how they suppress themselves, okay? So you don't like when a person is boisterous if you commonly suppress. You don't like when a person is freely speaking when you suppress. You don't actually like that you suppress. Do you see that? So you could be outwardly saying, yeah, Lola, you could be outwardly saying, oh, Lord, they so loud, they so this, they so that, but you don't like how you're feeling, right? You don't like how judgmental you are a lot of times, right? So criticizing others. And they came in here and they did this and they did this and they did that. You're showing that you have an inability to explore other perspectives and you don't like that about yourself, but you can't admit that. So it comes out like they do this and they do that and that's that and I'm so tired. But you don't like how you handle it. You don't like your experience when they do this or that. You don't like something in yourself about yourself. When you are projecting, you don't like something in yourself or about yourself. Do y'all see that? Does it make sense? Let me know. I love it too. Another aspect of projection is blame, holding someone else responsible for your powerlessness. Someone may be asking it something of you. Someone may be wanting something from you. And if you move in a powerless energy, you feel uncomfortable saying no. So, what you'll do is blame them for draining you, blame them for using you, blame them for crossing your boundaries. This is projection because you don't like that. You are unable to say no. You want them just to stop asking. You want them just to stop being a certain way. You want them to do something because you don't like this in yourself. Sometimes you don't like confrontation, even though you know you need to confront. So it's easier to project. They're selfish, they're this, they're that. Sometimes you don't like saying no because you feel uncomfortable. And so you don't like it when people ask you stuff that you don't want to do because you have a difficulty saying no. This is projection. Okay? Does this make sense? Well, some people say to me, I'm not blaming them for anything. You are. When you are saying, because of this person, I have to be this way, then that is blame. When you're saying they're this and they're that and they're there, and that's why I feel like this, you're blaming them. You want them to be accountable, or you're placing accountability on somewhere else. It be that way sometimes, yes, on someone else, right? And the impact on your relationships when you project is you don't feel close to anyone. You know why? Because you're not interacting with the people outside of you. You are interacting with your own thoughts, your own mind, and the stuff you don't like about yourself. When you feel miserable inside of you, it's hard to look outside and see beauty in anyone. When you're feeling powerless, when you're feeling frustrated, it's hard to look outside and appreciate something in anyone. So the impact that projection has on relationships is, number one, let me read. When projections lead to unfair accusations or unwarranted suspicion, it can damage trust between partners. There are some people who believe their projections are their intuition. They think projection is intuition. They think suspicion is intuition. They think anytime something doesn't sit right, it means you're doing something wrong. It is a projection of their suspicious mind. Some people are sitting thinking nobody cares about them. So anytime you do something that they don't like, they project you don't care. They think that's their intuition. And then they say things like, see, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. No, what you knew is what you rehearsed time after time after time in your own brain. And it prevents communication. It prevents closeness. Okay, so Lola says, I feel disconnected from people while also admiring them. What does that mean? What does connection feel like to you? What does connection feel like? Let's talk about that so I can understand more. All right, so listen, trust is foundational. We create our own chaos and then talk about don't disturb my peace. A person who projects is comfortable with the chaos that projection creates. And they might say, I don't do drama. Well, if you project, you are having a whole dramatic sequence going on in your head, and you're saying that that's reality. People outside are going, that's not reality. There's your drama. I like most qualities in people, but it makes me apprehensive. Okay, but here's my question. What is it like when you feel connected? What do you experience when you feel connected? And another question is, what causes apprehension? What are you trying to avoid, fear, or don't like, right? Okay, so here we go. Projections, number one, will cause communication breakdown. It results in misunderstanding. Why? Because if you're projecting, you're not listening. You're not leaning into understanding. You're telling the person how it is. Okay, so you're not connecting at all. It results in misunderstandings and communication barriers. When you project enough, a person will stop wanting to communicate with you. because you're not interested in hearing them anyway. You're interested in drawing your own conclusions, hearing from your own mind, your own suspicion. You're interested in interacting with the stuff you don't like about yourself, right? And so that will cause a communication barrier. A person will stop wanting to talk to you, and they'll stop talking to you as much as they used to. In your relationships, if you notice decreased communication, then I would look in this area. Where have I been projecting and not actually connecting with this person, right? Instead of openly discussing issues, partners may find themselves caught in a cycle of blame and defensiveness, preventing effective resolution of conflicts. And we know that if you cannot resolve conflict, your relationship is headed for disaster. Okay? Projection inhibits your ability to solve problems together because the other person is not involved. You don't know how to form intimacy. There's no vulnerability. There's no ability to be understood and understand because you have drawn your conclusions already and you project it on other people. You say, that's how it is. That's how you feel. I know why you did that. And then you do this. You tell them, you don't even have to explain. You say, you ain't got to explain. You ain't got to explain. I got it. I got it. But all the while, you're projecting. Connection makes me feel vulnerable and emotional. Okay. And so you don't feel vulnerable and emotional even though you like people. Okay. So what are the things that causes you to connect? What are the things that cause you to connect? Okay. So if a person is constantly dealing with blame coming from you, blame in any form, blaming them for not saying the right thing, blaming them for making you feel, that's a big one. You made me feel. You made me feel. Well, people who think that you can make them feel some kind of way also believe they can make you feel some kind of way, and they are not existing in a powerful stance in their life. Peace, KP. How you doing? All right. Number two, projections can be the foundation of emotional distress. Have you ever been in a situation where a person was constantly projecting their reality, judging you by it, and making decisions and not trying to understand you, not trying to lean in, not connecting, just defending, blaming, shaming, like doing all of the above, right? Don't you feel some emotional distress? You feel frustrated, right? You feel like, what's the point? Or you feel like lashing out, right? So, can you see how projection is not the best use of your energy in your relationship? Now, think about times where you've projected, right? You've been in some kind of energy and you unleashed it on somebody. Well, I'm expressing my feelings. That's how you justified it. And so I read a meme and I keep reading this meme and I want to talk about it. It says anything that you lose by speaking your truth is not worth having. And I disagree because a lot of people when they're speaking their truth, they're speaking from a projection. And that will cause you to have emotional distress in your relationships. It will cause communication breakdown. And you will say it's because you spoke your truth, but your truth is a projection. Your truth is blaming. Your truth is shaming. I can think of times where people said to me, well, that's my truth. That's how it feels. And I would sit there and think to myself, but that's not at all what happened. Are you willing to hear something different? It's my truth. We can become so stubbornly attached to what we are calling my truth, my feelings, my experience. It is your experience, right? But that doesn't mean that it is in alignment with truth. And when you project, you don't abide in truth often, and you can get confused. You can get confused your own self about what's true and what's not because you don't even know what your projection and what the person is actually doing. Can you see that? Your truth. It's not universal truth, right? It's not even the truth that actually happened. It's your interpretation of truth. A lot of people are saying, I'm speaking my truth, but it's an interpretation of truth. Can I give you an example? Can I give you an example? Right? So let's say I had some kind of furrowed brow, right? Because I was confused inside. Let's set it up. I got a furrowed brow because I'm confused. I have something in my head that I'm trying to figure out, and all of my energy is going inward, right? So I'm not very aware of what's going on outward because it's consuming my attentional framework, right? Let's say that. So then you walk in the room and you already feel insignificant, like nobody listens to you, nobody notices you, nobody cares. You already feel that. So you walk into the room while I'm looking like that, and I don't look at you. I don't acknowledge you. I don't engage. If you're projecting, you will take your experience that you're having on the inside and say, that's why you feel it. When I came in, you didn't even acknowledge me. You didn't even say hello. You didn't even know. See, and this is why I feel like that. No, you came in like that, right? Or that's an interpretation of truth, right? That may be the person's truth, but it's an interpretation of truth. So if they go on and start speaking their truth, which is, and I'm tired of this, I'm tired of how you're making me feel, I'm tired of, now your truth is an interpretation, you're projecting it. There's emotional distress, there's communication breakdown. If the person responds, if the person walks away, you cannot say that speaking my truth ruined that. That's not true. A lot of people are exhibiting low self-awareness, low emotional management, right? Low conflict resolution skills, but they're trying to speak their truth and they don't even know what the truth is. They just know that they feel something. So, TikTok is saying that they have me for a restricted audience for some reason. I'm not sure. Let me continue. So, speaking your truth could cause emotional distress, stress, and emotional breakdown, but it's not because you spoke the truth. Yes, you spoke the truth and there was distress, right? But speaking your truth didn't cause the distress. What likely caused distress while speaking your truth? Accusation, blame, projection. Let me say it again. Just because you're speaking your truth and someone has a reaction to it doesn't mean that speaking your truth caused them to walk away and they needed to. Because sometimes speaking your truth is based on your interpretation. A lot of times it is, right? And you're not listening. You're not actually trying to hear. You don't even know how. A lot of people are releasing connections and walking away. Hold on one second. It's saying 2 restrictions. Let me see. Okay, it's saying that my visibility is going to be restricted for 10 minutes. I don't know. Let's continue. Y'all hearing what I'm saying? Okay, so next, projection can inhibit your personal growth. If you're stuck in the framework of your mind, if you're in your mind judging things by your perspective, your projections, things you don't like about yourself, things that you feel disempowered to do or about, then your personal growth is going to be inhibited because you can't see from various perspectives. You can't form intimacy. You can't connect in closeness. You can't understand another person, right? And Lola, if you're still here, I don't know if you responded to my question, but I'm going back to that. All right. Projection prevents individuals from taking responsibility for their own emotions and behaviors. You think it's somebody else. Because of them, they made you. Because of them, you had to do. Because of them, things are like this. Am I saying people don't affect our circumstance? No. But many times, you are unable to live from an authentic space, and therefore you're co-creating things with others that you don't like, and you don't see that how you are playing a role in it. You don't see it. It's just them. right? I was this way for years and just recently practicing. And we got to practice because I think all of us get like this, where we see other people's behavior as the problem. And we don't see how we co create. You are creative. You are a creative divine being. And every interaction that you have, you are co creating. Yeah, you didn't even know. You thought it was them. And listen, if you just get around some people who also project and they say me too, because that's the common experience. I had that experience too. They did that to me too. Then you believe it's reality, and it is the reality. It's reality with you and the people who project. But that doesn't mean it's true. A projection is an interpretation of truth, right? This lack of self-awareness can inhibit personal growth, self-improvement, which are crucial for thriving in relationships. Picture you blame people all the time and you don't even know. And picture blaming them causes them to not want to be close to you. So you keep having these repeat experiences. And you start saying, see, that's why I don't date. I'm going to be to myself. That's why I don't talk to people. That's why I don't do this. But who is participating with them? And if you lack self-awareness, you're probably going to look at this teaching and just go, she don't know what she's talking about. She crazy, right? Because what I'm talking is cutting. How do you know if you're projecting? If you're not hearing what the other person is saying, if the other person outside of you is saying it's not like that, if the person outside is saying, I don't feel heard, I don't feel understood, then likely you're projecting. And we talked about how projection manifests: blame, shame, criticizing. I can add more: trivializing, minimizing, catastrophizing, generalizing. All of that. I didn't put that in the email. That's extra, right? So, how do you address projection in your relationship or within yourself? That's the question. We need to talk about that. Take time to reflect on your own emotions and behaviors. Okay, that's the first thing. Ask yourself if you might be projecting your insecurities onto your partners. Okay, so first you got to admit that you got some insecurities. Where do you feel insecure in your relationship? Within yourself. Another way to ask that is, what do you fear could happen in a relationship? What have you seen that you want to avoid? Right? You got to reflect on yourself. That's why my first book is called Self-Intimacy: A Beginner's Guide to Self-Discovery. You need a deep reflection of self. You need to reflect. What am I insecure about? See, a lot of people go, I know I'm confident. I'm a confident individual. There's levels and layers to confidence. Okay. You could be confident as a teacher and not very confident as a fitness instructor, right? You could be very confident as a mother and not confident as a lover. So we need to stop looking at confidence. I'm a confident individual. I've always been confident. No, you have not always been confident. Maybe you've always been confident in a certain area because that's your strength, right? But there are other areas where you have not been confident in. And if you can't acknowledge that, you can't do the shadow work there, right? Because this is about self-reflection. Where do you feel not so confident, right? I thought I was confident too. And right, we all do. And then we think confidence looks a certain way, right? Because someone can display a confident body language. You think they're confident. Because someone uses an authoritative language or tone, you think they're confident. Sure, they're exhibiting energies of confidence in that activity. But there's levels and layers to it. Where do you feel insecure? All right. What do you fear might happen in your relationship? In the moment, what do you fear could be happening? Okay. Next question. Where have you felt that before? Because a lot of people think, I didn't feel like that till I got in this relationship. Now, this relationship might be a significant trigger of that for sure. But chances are you felt it before. And maybe you had done some work in this relationship, brought up a deeper layer of it. I once heard an analogy that if you squeeze toothpaste, apple juice is not coming out. You know what's coming out when you squeeze a toothpaste tube? Toothpaste. If it ain't in you, it cannot manifest. I'm very insecure in relationships because I feel like it threatens my sense of self. And that makes sense to me because a lot of people feel that. And that's why when I teach on relationships, I show people how you don't have to self-sacrifice to be in a relationship. You don't have to compromise to be in a healthy relationship. A lot of relationship models focus on compromise and the giving up of self for the greater whole. I don't believe you have to do that to be healthy. A relationship never requires you to lose your sense of self, right? It doesn't require you to be restricted. It doesn't require any of that, but it will be restrictive. It will feel like a trap. It will feel like you're losing yourself if you have some belief systems about love and about connection that promote that. For example, in relationships, one partner may want to do this activity, right? Whatever this activity is, you fill it in. But another partner doesn't want them to do that activity because they feel insecure for whatever reason. So most of the collective would say, well, your person doesn't want you to do that. Do you really have to do it? That's not the route that I take, because I know that's not the way to longevity. That's a way to resentment. That's a way to bitterness. That's a route to losing yourself. You can't do the things that you really want to do. You can't even talk about them because the person is scared. They're clinging, right? So I believe there's a way to work in all of each person's desires and needs in a way that flows without creating restriction and loss of self. Does that make sense? You never heard of that one? Yeah, it's prominent. A lot of people fear relationships because they feel like they have to give up things that they like, and they have to stop talking to people, and they have to stop hanging out, and they have to stop because if they don't, it's going to be a problem. Or they have to focus on their partner's needs, right? And if you have a partner who is not plugged into you, focusing excessively on their needs and desires means that who's focusing on yours? A loss of sense of self, right? So that's real. And when a person projects their insecurities, and the person who is under the projection is not a person who has a firm belief in self and autonomy and freedom, they may buckle and feel like, I have to do this for my relationship. I have to do this to reassure my person. I have to do that. And all that leads to is restriction. I can remember being inside a long-term relationship years ago. And I used to ask this question, where do I fit in my own world? Because this person has the ideas about who I should talk to, who I shouldn't, what I should say, where I should go with them. When do I get to decide, was the question that I was having back then, which led me on a whole path to ask, like, does being in a long-term, successful, healthy relationship really require this self-sacrifice? It does not. But if it's the only way you've ever known, if it's the only way you've ever seen, then you think nothing else is outside of it. But I'm here to tell you, there's more. There's a way to exist in yourself fully and bring that self into the relationship where it can be received well, and you can do the same thing for others. But a lot of people feel restricted. A lot of people feel like they're going to face trouble if they even say something, talk about something, bring up a topic. It's time for some help if you exist like that in your relationship, okay? So You need to reflect on your own emotions and behaviors and know them. What are you insecure about? Where do you lack confidence? Where do you need more skill? What do you need more of, less of? What do you need to know within yourself so that you can be a confident individual? Because some people think they just get insecure because they're in a relationship. No, you feel insecure about love and connection and loss and abandonment and things like that. And that manifests in your insecurities within the relationship. They were there before the relationship happened. Now, one point I want to make is if your relationship seemed to be good to you and then it ended in infidelity or something like that, that's different. Okay. I would take a different approach to teaching that in those kind of cases. Are y'all still there? Am I making sense? But listen, let me say this. If your relationship has experienced any kind of infidelity, any kind of cheating, any kind of stepping out, chances are there was a lack of connection and communication barriers already. And just because you were not aware of them doesn't mean they didn't exist. That didn't just pop out of nowhere. But you may be unaware and think it popped out of nowhere. It never just happens. And then suddenly, hey Kia, good. You hear people telling a story, my relationship was fine, and then all of a sudden she changed. It wasn't all of a sudden change, but you were unaware of what was going on. You were unaware of dynamics. If you are a person who resides in your head, you probably wasn't even plugged into the person, so you couldn't even see it. And even if you saw it, you would doubt it. Like all of that stuff is going on, okay? So you need to discuss your feelings without placing blame. And that's where a lot of the turmoil comes in because you don't know how. You think, I'm not blaming, I'm just saying. You take that stance because you don't know any kind of communication other than blaming. And that's so if I'm saying to you, if I'm talking to you right now and I say, stop blaming, and you go, how is that blaming? I thought I was explaining. I thought chances are you blame and you just don't know it. Okay, so here I say, discuss your feelings without placing blame. If you get defensive, you probably blame people. Okay, if you get defensive, you probably do blame people because that they are the result. That's why you got to brace, defend, right? Deflect because you operate in blame. Discuss your feelings without placing blame and encourage them to share their perspective. Now, listen, if you're defending and blaming and upset, you're not encouraging anyone to share their perspective, and you know it. You just want them to see yours. You want them to receive what you're saying so you could feel better, right? And then you want them to walk away from it and be like, that's it, you know? So you're not encouraging. How do you feel about that? Like, how did you experience what I said? What do you think? You're not doing any of that. When you're defending, deflecting, deferring, blaming, projecting, you are not encouraging anyone to share a perspective. And that tells me that your relationship is in trouble. And that tells me as long as you are unaware of how this is affecting your relationships, you're going to keep having troubled relationships. Not just romantic relationships, right, Nova? Family relationships. Who are you encouraging when you're defensive? Tell me. The point of the defense is to get the person to back off so you can feel better. And you might say, no, that's not it. I'm just explaining. If you are just explaining and you cannot hear the other person's perspective without explaining more, then it's defense. Protecting the ego, right? Because defense is about shame. Defense is about guilt. I'm talking about when there's no reason for it. Right? There may be some pent up shame about how you feel in this situation. That's why I say you got to reflect. Know yourself in a deep way. See, some people don't think they have any insecure spots. Some people don't think they have any spaces where they are not so confident. So they can't go through this process and they can't stop projecting. It's always other people. No, it's you. Okay? And if you project, then you do that. It's them every time you start using words like that. Okay. Every time, in every situation, always you start generalizing, you start catastrophizing, because those are the babies of projection, causing relational distress. If you're experiencing any of this in your relationship, you need to seek help, right? Listen, an essential part of conflict resolution is not only hearing another person's perspective, right? We all get that. You need to hear different perspectives, but it's not just that, right, Kia? It's encouraging it. Do you encourage and invite the person's perspective? Not if you're projecting, not if you're defending, not if you're denying, not if you're explaining. You're not inviting. So you can't understand anything. It's not just hearing the other perspective. How many times has a person heard your perspective and dismissed it? Yeah, I heard what you said, but yeah, all right. Or you could tell they were not open in some kind of way. They heard it, but did they invite it? Did they encourage it? No, tell me how you feel. I want to know. I want to know how you see that too. If you're projecting and defending, you don't have that quality in your relationship. And you got to self-assess. Where do I block my partner's communication with defense? Where do I block my partner's communication with projection? Where do I block communication? Because that's how come you don't feel close. That's why. Or a reason why. Okay? You need to seek some professional help, because this is not something that is easily shifted. More than likely, you've been doing and thinking these ways for a very long time, right? And your relationship will become very heavy if you want to only learn it in your relationship. You're going to have to seek someone who knows about this and will actively help you to shift it. Right? Because a lot of people, they go, I know I need to change this, and I know I need to do this, and I just want you to be patient with me. That person needs to operate in self-care, because when you're projecting, right, it's causing emotional distress. And you're asking them, be patient with the emotional distress between us. Because I'm trying. Have you ever said that? Or had anyone say that? I'm trying. It's not for a lack of trying, but they are experiencing the emotional distress. You need to get some professional help too. Because your partner's patience is not a never-ending well. At some point, they should have some boundary, some limitation for hurtful interactions. They should be able to stop and say, you know what, no more of this. You can go work on that, right? But I don't want to experience it with you because it's detrimental to me. People need to be able to say that. Right? And so a lot of times you think just because you're working on something, you want to, what we call, hold the person hostage. Just sit here with me. Just walk with me. I just wanted someone who would understand I'm not perfect. I just wanted, that's the space for you and your therapist, you and your coach. When you place undue heaviness in your relationship, then where are the times where you can actually connect? Where are the times where you actually can deeply plug in? They're going to be few and far between, because your relationship is going to be stuck in problem-solving mode. That's heavy and it's draining. And eventually people lose interest. Can I just be real? Because I want to talk about how it really happens. Because ideally, we want to say, get you a partner who loves you unconditionally. This is not about love. People can love you and still place a boundary. But if you project, you'll say, did you ever really love me? You said you were going to be here. You said you were going to do this. That is a person operating in a victim mentality, not taking ownership. Okay, I can see this is distressful for you. And because I love you, I want you to take care of yourself. And I'm going to get this. I'm going to go to my therapist. I'm going to go to coaching because I don't want this between us. Hey, Mike. I understand why you have to take care of yourself. That's a person who is aware. Not only aware of what they're working on and the difficulty, but also aware of the effect they have with you. because he needs help too, but I'm the only one getting help. You got to practice self-care in relationships. You got to decide what your threshold is. How much can I take? How much won't I take? How much do I need not to take? How much patience do I have to offer? Is this affecting me in a negative way? What do I need to practice good self-care so I can stay healthy? That's why I say self-sacrifice is not required. A person who is operating in awareness and empowerment may not understand how to shift. So they may be seeking help, but they also understand that you're in this with me and I see what you're saying, right? Now, let me tell you what I'm not talking about, because some people do this as emotional manipulation. I know I'm not enough for you right now, so go ahead and live your life and I'm going to get better. And then, maybe we could try it again. I don't want to be a burden to you. Some people use that. Don't. We're grown. We're adults. We can put this on the table. Hey, I know you're working through this and I support you. I just can't do it within a relationship with you because I am not experiencing emotional wellness. I need support. This is not working for me, but I can still support you, right? A person who is operating in empowerment will see that. Hey, Miss Yetta. A person who wants to blame you and project is going to say you never really wanted them. You were never really committed. Hey, Darnisha. They'll say stuff like that. Have you heard things like that? I certainly have. I told him that yesterday, but meant it, and I feel like he doesn't take it seriously. And sometimes people don't take it seriously because they think it's not that bad. They are unable to empathize. They think it's not that bad. Like, for example, they'll trivialize it. They'll say, just for one little thing, this little thing, and you just ready to go. Right? They trivialize it. It's not a little thing if your partner is saying, I'm ready to go. It never was a little thing if your partner is saying, I can't do this with you. Hey, Kylie. And if you trivialize it to be one little thing, this little thing, it's not that bad, you didn't even have to do all of that, then you are projecting and you are not caring about the other person. You are operating in a powerless stance. At some point, every person must, number one, become aware of what they're working on and the way they are interacting and influencing the world outside of them. It's time to come out of this victim mentality. People leave me every time I try to be authentic. No. People do need to disconnect when you are creating chaos together. And it doesn't mean they never loved you. But if you project, that's the meaning you're going to project onto it. And you're going to walk around suffering. Did they ever really love me? Did they ever really care? Were they ever really going to be there? Were they ever? That's the result of projecting. Am I driving this home? Do you get it? Projection serves no one, not even you. Even if you're comfortable with it, even if you're used to it, I'm telling you, it ruins your connections and it hinders your self-growth. Mind you, we aren't exclusive or committed. And I'm grateful, Sacred Feline, that you're not committed. But even though we're not using a word commitment, sometimes we could feel the emotional commitment and the emotional pressure from it, right? Okay, so sign up for some coaching. You need coaching help, right? I've realized this very thing. That's why I'm getting help. Absolutely. I offer one-on-one coaching on my website, veronicamarie.com. Let's continue. Okay. A professional can help you become more aware. Okay. Because likely you get triggered by the close people around you. I love you too. When they tell you something about yourself, you can't hear it. You can't handle it well. It feels like harshness. It feels like criticism. Not another person telling me I'm doing something wrong. That's how it feels inside. So you don't receive things well from the people that are close to you a lot of times. So sometimes you need to get professional help, someone who is objective to say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. Because when the person close to you tells you that, you fight them, right? It's a defensive strategy of a victim mentality, right? Let's see. I love her too. I missed your live. Oh yes, I am more active on YouTube now. I have podcasts. I have a new workbook. I've been working for y'all, working for us. Okay, here we go. Practice empathy. When you are projecting, you are not empathizing. Similar to the fact that you're not encouraging and inviting anyone to be understood when you're projecting. You're not practicing empathy when you're projecting. You're trying to fix whatever you don't like going on inside of you. And empathy has to do with seeing outside someone else's experience. You're not doing any of that when you're defending. You're not doing any of that when you're accusing, blaming, projecting. You're not doing that. You're not inviting the other person to share an intimacy with you. Projection will ruin a connection. I'm telling you. And you got to see it in yourself, not just in other people. Okay? And it begins with understanding your own pattern. That's why I said my book, Self-Intimacy, The Beginner's Guide to Self-Discovery, is going to lead you on an internal journey to understand your own emotions, to understand your own belief systems, to help you in a strategy to reflect, to bring them out, to remodel them. That's what the book is designed to help you do. Now, some people I understand don't like to read. You want a coaching session, you can sign up for a coaching session. Hey, Jazz, how you doing? It starts inside. A lot of people don't know themselves, but they're trying to tell you who you are. They're trying to label you with things when it's really them who thinks like that. That's why you can't take other people's opinions too seriously, y'all. Because the very thing that they're saying about you, right? They don't like it in themselves because they're like that. Or they have done it with you. A person will be telling you you're selfish because you're not doing what they want you to do, and they are operating in that energy. A person will tell you, you're controlling because they operate in disempowerment and they don't know how to stand up. A person will tell you you're too boisterous, you're too loud, you're too expressive because they suppress themselves and don't know how to use their words like you do. You cannot take other people's projections seriously at all. You love minding your business so much. Your clothes never soil and your refrigerator is full. I shade. Okay? Is this making sense? And I had to go there because there's some people who do not know themselves. They don't think deeply about much, but they're telling you you're too something. Since you're a coach, do you do motivate? I absolutely do. I do, Jazz. This is very deep. A lot of this is me from a man's side. I share, Carrie. I keep water to drink. Yes. All right, so let's continue. Projection. I hope you can see. Projection can be a significant barrier to a healthy relationship. If you project, your relationship is not going in a healthy vein because the other person likely doesn't feel heard by you deeply, doesn't feel understood by you deeply. There's some emotional disconnection, okay? And no, some people are not too much, right? They may be too much to you or too much to me, but they might be just enough for someone else. It's subjective. That's why I say stay away from telling people they're too much. Say it's too much for me and so I need to go. Not it's too much and you need to calm down. Not it's too much and you need to stop doing XYZ. That's controlling, right? But this is too much for me. I don't have the capacity to roll with you like this, so I have to step away. That's personal responsibility. Looking out and telling someone they're too sensitive, they're doing too much, they're blowing this out of proportion, right? It's trivializing. If it's too much for you, if it's too small for you, or whatever, then remove yourself. right? And if someone is telling you that you're too much, understand what they're really saying, right? Because they're saying you do too much. In their opinion, what you are doing is not what they feel like you should be doing. Allow me to reframe that. You're not acting like I want you to act. You should be acting this way. Act the way that I think you should be acting. That's what they're saying. You need to be calm and adhere to my belief systems about behavior in this situation. And you're not doing it. So, what I want to do is tear you down so you will submit. Because if you submit, then I can stop feeling uncomfortable. That's the translation to you're too sensitive, you're too much. I don't really know what to do with these emotions that you are putting out toward me. And I don't want to do anything with them because it's painful, it's uncomfortable, it's inconvenient. So you stop. Stop. Help me feel better in this situation. A person who is saying you're too something is not concerned about you, right? They are projecting. You can never get close to a person who's doing that. Plus, you can't be your authentic self either. Can you see that? And this is why a lot of people lose their sense of self. This is how people lose their sense of self. They begin to diminish their authenticity to please someone else's perspective. They are unable to say, hey, listen, I know you don't like that, but I like this about myself, so I'm probably going to keep doing it. Let's discuss options to see, where we can move, how we move, and whether or not we're aligned. See, that's a mature conversation. A person who is operating in an inability to resolve conflict is going to take that as a threat. Can you hear that? Projection can be a significant barrier to a healthy relationship, but with awareness and effort, it is possible to overcome it. By fostering open communication, practicing empathy, and seeking self-awareness, you can minimize the impact of projection and build a stronger, more resilient partnership. When you feel contracted within conversation with other people, you need to ask yourself, what is this touching in me that I don't like? Hold on one second. I have to do this puzzle on TikTok to stay active. What is this touching in me that I don't like? How can I talk about it in a way that does not blame, accuse, or shame? So I want to leave you with some statements that don't include blame so you can understand what your options are, okay? All right, number one, the formula. I'm giving you the formula. Formula of communicating without blame, without projecting. Okay, y'all ready? Describe what happened, not what you think happened, not your interpretation of what happened. Right now, it's time for facts. You slammed the door when I walked in yesterday. Facts. You came home late yesterday. Facts. Do you get that? Now, before you start there, it's important to determine what it is you want from the communication. And this is shadow work. This is shadow work. What do I want from the communication? Because a lot of people want to be right. A lot of people want to prove the other person wrong. A lot of people want to show the other person how they were whatever. Those usually don't work. Be honest about what you want. I want accountability. It's probably not going to end well. I want them to admit. It's probably not going to end well. So why are you having the conversation? What outcome do you want? Do you want them to see your perspective while giving up their own? You got to be honest, because some people do see from your perspective, but they still see from theirs as well. And a lot of people don't like that, right? So do you want them to see from your perspective and abandon their own? That's shadow work, because some people do. Sometimes you do want that. Sometimes you need it. But if you're not honest, you'll be saying, well, I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm just trying to speak what's true. When you really getting mad because they are not shifting. Can you understand that? Why are you having the communication? I like to have communication because I want to share my mind. I want my mind, my thought processes to be known. So that's a common reason I might share. Right? I might share to express how I experience something and see how we can resolve the conflict that I see. What is the reason you're sharing? If you're sharing because you want to be right, it's probably not going to go well. And you might think, no, I don't want to be right. I'm just saying. If you defend and project and don't invite their perspective, I said invite, not hear it, but invite it, then you want to be right. You do. Okay? So, what outcome do I want from this communication? Number 2, what happened? Facts. We're not using emotional language here. You're inviting them to listen. Remember last night when such and such happened? Or remember this morning when the bird was cooing outside and you said this? Remember when we were talking and I was in the shower and this happened? You're asking them to recall. How many times has someone bombarded you with an accusation of something you didn't even recall? Or they just knew you were mad about something and you'd be like, oh Lord, I forgot that happened. You need to invite them to recall the facts. Remember when we were riding home and such happened? Do you remember that? What outcome do you want? Number 2, invite them to recall the facts with you. Number 3, I would like to share how I experienced that. Or can you share how you experienced that? Are you open to sharing how you experienced it? Inviting. Are you open to hear me out? Are you in a space to talk about how I experienced that? It's very helpful. It's needful, you know. Are you in a space to tell me what you were meaning when you said X, Y, and Z this morning? You avoid projection when you maintain a state of curiosity, as opposed to judgment, as opposed to defense, as opposed to trivializing. Oh Lord, here you go, trivializing. Every time, trivializing. Okay? What outcome do you want from this situation? Invite them to recall the facts with you. Test for the space. Are they in a space to hear you, or are they in a space to share? Sometimes it's beneficial to ask them to share first. How did you experience that? When you saw X, Y, and Z, I noticed your face did this. What was your experience? What were you experiencing? Are you open to hearing how I experienced it? And that's where it gets tricky. Because a person saying they're open and actually being open is 2 different things. Okay? Saying, yeah, I'm open, but you're contracted inside and you're ready to defend, that's not openness. I'm talking about an internal state of being. Yes, I invite your perspective because your perspective is important to me. How you experience this is important to me. What you're trying to communicate to me is important to me. If you're projecting, you're saying that's not important. How I feel is important. And I really don't want to hear what you have to say because I don't like how I feel when I hear that. I want to tell you how I felt. I want to tell you how I saw it. And I want you to receive that. That's what you're saying when you project, right? So after you share and they have shared, share what stands out to you. For me, I still don't understand this. I'm still stuck at this point. I'll say that. I heard all of that, but I'm stuck here. What did you mean when you said, because you said this, what did you mean? What do you want to see happen? That's another step in the right direction. What do you want to see happen? What did you hope had happened? How would that have been ideal in your opinion? Now you're exploring their mind and you're not projecting because you're asking questions and you're receiving information from them. From the information, you could decide how you move. You could go, okay, you wish that X, Y, and Z would have happened. I don't think I could do that because I don't see it like that. But I can do this. Is this hitting home? I like that a lot. Yeah. This is the road to conversation and plugging in. The other road of projection and all of that I just mentioned is the road to disconnection and separation. Okay, I hear you saying that, and I know I'm having trouble on the inside with a few things. And these are the few things that I have questions about. Once you've had the conversation, aftercare is important. Have you noticed when you have a hard conversation, especially if it's emotionally charged, especially if nothing got resolved or very little got resolved, have you noticed the awkwardness that ensues? It's called the emotional rebound period. It's a space where you're not normalized. Your relationship has a nervous system. It's dysregulated still. You're still feeling the after effects of what happened. And not only what happened, but what happened when you talked about what happened. Don't you know it could get worse by talking? When you're doing the things that I said, it gets worse. So now you don't just have to deal with the pain of what happened. Now you got to deal with the myriad of problems your ineffective conversation gave birth to. So a lot of times you could actually resolve the original problem. But if you went round and round in circles a few times with some defending projection and such, you got way more to deal with. So you might be like, well, dang, I thought we resolved it. What else is there? All the stuff that got born after. And that's why projection doesn't serve your best interests. It creates more problems, more distrust, more disconnection. So even if you liked to project, why would you?